So, today's webinar is all around people pleasing. And I have had so many people tell me that they struggle with this. And so I wanted to create a webinar. And so, as everyone's starting to trickle in, I want everyone to write in the chat either one or two words on what they think people pleasing means. How would you describe it? And the reason why I want us to do this is because oftentimes what we do is we create a label for things without even understanding what it means at its core. And I feel like stress is a really good example of how we do this in the same way that we do with people pleasing, where we'll just throw around a word and we don't really know why we're stressed or the underlying reason as to what's causing the stress. We just blanket label it as stress and then we've accepted it and just kind of move on with our day. Stress isn't necessarily the emotion that is happening, right? It's just a label that we've created as a bucket of all of these things that we feel, right? Usually when you're stressed, it's like, why are you stressed? Are you overwhelmed? Are you frustrated? What is the key thing underneath the stress? So we want to do the same thing with people pleasing. So what would you say in one or two words, how you would describe what people pleasing is? If anyone has any examples, I'll give you my word. But let me know if there's any that you guys have first. Yeah, it's one of your biggest pet peeves. Totally. We're going to talk all about all things today, why we do it, how we can break free from it, what is the underlying root underneath the people pleasing, not sticking to your values and needs. Yes, that's definitely part of it. So I'll give you the word that describes it the best, and that is self-abandonment. And I feel like when you hear that word, it kind of hurts. It like hits at home of, oh my God, when I'm people pleasing, I'm actually abandoning myself in the process. And that is because at its core, when we're people pleasing, we are prioritizing other people's needs, their wants, and their approval above our own. And in doing so, what does that do, right? We put our well being, our authenticity, our true self to the side, right? It comes at the expense of ourself. See, I think it's based on past trauma, keeping up with the peace, because in the past they've experienced toxic relationships that were chaotic or not good. Yeah, there's definitely layers of that too that we'll get to today. Great. Keep them coming, and any questions that you guys have, feel free to put them in the chat. I will be checking it throughout and I can make sure to answer them, if not in the middle of this or at the end. And so basically, people pleasing, we're abandoning ourselves, we're putting other people's needs above our own. And so basically, what we're saying when we do that is that I choose your happiness over my own, and I'm going to put my needs aside and put your needs first. And so we're basically putting ourselves on the back burner. And if you have read any of my content or joined any lives that I've done, you'll know that the concept that I speak about the most is that life is mirroring us. Life gives us a series of events, situations, circumstances, experiences to show us back to us, right? If we're here to grow and expand and create, when we set goals for ourselves, essentially what's going to happen is the limitations we have on our current self cannot come with us to this future version. And so we are going to have life mirror back to us all the limitations that we hold on ourselves so that we can actually become aware of them and change it. So when we're people pleasing, basically what we're doing is we are saying that we don't matter and you should put us last. Because if it's showing you back to you, however you're being towards yourself, life is going to mirror back to you through situations, experiences, circumstances, and people. If you're being towards yourself, my needs don't matter, and I go last, and I'm people pleasing and putting everyone's needs above my own, I'm abandoning myself, what is that going to give you within situations with other people, right? It's going to keep bringing up that same feeling of people are not prioritizing me. People are not putting their needs above my own. And so we have to realize that however we're being towards ourselves, life is going to mirror back to us. And we do this in forms of people pleasing. And so what happens is we are going to get situations through through relationships that reflect this back to us. We're going to have work environments that reflect this back to us. We're going to have opportunities that reflect this back to us. And they're going to keep reinforcing this belief that we have. And beliefs are not truth. They're just what we have as an identity or a current belief that we hold. And we have evidence, stories, proof, and experiences to the point where someone said earlier, right? It's past trauma that you had to create, right? These identities and masks to feel safe. You're going to keep getting life reflecting that back to you. And it's going to confirm things like, I'm not valuable unless I'm serving other people or pleasing other people. Work is going to keep piling things on because they know that you won't say no. People are going to keep treating you like shit because they're like, she's not going to say anything about it, or he's not going to say anything about it. And this is usually rooted in you not being solid in your own identity and truly knowing who you are at your core, right? So when we don't know who we are at our core, and we may have stories that we tell ourselves right now about who we are, right? You might have labels that our parents gave us when we were little about who we were, and we still live by those stories, and we just tell ourselves that's just who I am and there's nothing I can do about it, right? But really being rooted in your own identity is being able to create your own identity for yourself right now, right? We were born whole. We weren't born as the smart one or the bad one or the one that, doesn't do what she wants to do, right? We created these masks and these labels over time. So we want to get back to our true self. The only way that we do that is to really start to get to know who we are at our core. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. But the reason why we people please is usually because we're not rooted in our own identity. And the problem with that is when we're looking for validation in others, it's going to create a pretty shaky foundation, because what you're basically saying is, I'm going to put my worth in everybody else's hands, right? So it means that your value is going to rise and fall based on the situation, based on how someone else responds, versus you knowing who you are, knowing your value and being rooted to it. And then nothing can take you down, right? Think of like a tree that has really strong roots. And when the rain comes or the sun comes, it's not actually moving the tree. It's solid in its foundation, no matter if it's a beautiful sunny day where everything's working in their favor, or if it's raining and everything is just going the opposite of what you want to happen, right? When you know who you are, you're not looking for anyone else to tell you who you are. You know who you are at your core. This doesn't mean that we become stubborn, right? It means that we know who we are, and we are going to continue to invest in growing and expanding, because that is how we get the life that we desire, right? We are perfect beings in who we are. We just have all these labels and masks and identity that's sitting on top of us that's clouding our judgment of ourselves. We are one of one. We are unique and special. We are the best at being us. But that doesn't mean that you now are an asshole out in the world and that you aren't continuously growing because you're the best and you're perfect, right? We're perfect, but we're also ever evolving and changing beings. We fail so that we can learn and iterate and change the course of action, right? In order to get something new, we have to be different. We have to do something different to get a new result. So we need to first understand that at its core. And then the reason why people pleasing can feel like this endless cycle is because you're outsourcing your identity and you're going to keep looking for validation outside yourself. So we'll talk a little bit about the identity and how you actually root into who you are, because you want to be independent of that outside of other people's approval. And so what happens is, when you're people pleasing, basically what you're saying is that I need to get validation from others. So what do? You are the one who always goes with the flow, even though you don't want to go with the flow, right? You have an opinion about what you're doing, or you're the one who never pushes back and you want to actually say something, but you feel that you don't want to say anything. We're going to get into why we actually do this. You avoid conflict so that you don't argue. You're the one at work. You're the one who's going to work all hours of the night, every single day. You're the one who's the nice one, the good kid, the easy friend, the hard worker, no matter what the cost. You're the one who always answers people's calls. You're always helping them. You're always listening. Even if you are in the worst place in your life and you don't have the capacity to help anyone, you don't have the space to help other people, you're saying, my needs don't matter and I'm going to put you above. So you're going to answer that phone call that then makes things worse. So, why do we think that we actually do that? Why do we think that we abandon ourselves in the process? If anybody has thoughts, where does this stem from? Why do we actually put our needs behind other people's? One or two sentences. What do you think? Attachment styles. Yep. Anyone else? All right, well, I'll give you a few. So, if you've thought of or if it came to mind, there's usually two reasons as to why we're doing this. Okay. The first one is fear, and the second one is desire, right? So, people pleasing is rooted in fear. So, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of disapproval, right? There is a fear that we have. So we create this behavior so that we don't actually create the thing we're really afraid of happening. And then the other one is desire. So it's our desire for acceptance. It is our desire to belong. It is our desire to have love. And so these are key things. We're either in one of these two states. They're very similar into why we're doing it, but it's we desire a thing that we feel we don't have, and then we want to avoid something that we are afraid of happening. And so the reason why this came about and this mechanism is because as kids, we learn quickly that approval equals safety and then disapproval equals danger. Okay. So pretty simple when we're younger, we create or we do a behavior and we label it as safe and we get approval if we do this, disapproval meaning danger. And so if you ever got love or attention or felt security from conditional things like being a good girl or a good boy, being quiet, being the helpful one, right? Pleasing became a way that you can guarantee connection from that person, whether that be a parent, whether it be a caregiver, whether that be a sibling or a teacher. We learn these behaviors because of these survival strategies that we have, right? Our nervous system essentially is wiring people pleasing as if I keep other people happy, then I'm going to be safe. And so if you've ever heard of Maslow's hierarchies and needs, right above food and water is safety, love, and belonging. So essentially that's our need to have connection, acceptance, community. It is the survival mechanism that's hardwired into us. And so we're going to create these beliefs, these identities, these labels when we're younger of what gets us approval so that we can then feel safe. And so life is going to give us all these situations and it's going to feel like we're pulling against a hardwired thing in our body, which is just feeling safety, love, and belonging. And so we've created this mechanism to make ourselves feel safe. So the idea of saying no feels so scary, like we are going to lose one of our basic needs, right? So a subconscious level, we're going to fear that if we say no, we're going to push people away. And if we've built our self-worth on external validation, we are naturally going to overextend ourselves to prove ourselves. We are going to have, um, this temporary feeling of approval from other people because we feel like in the moment we get love, we get worthiness, we get value from acting in that certain way, but we realize that it never actually lasts because it's not foundational, it's not within us. And so you just need to realize one thing: we're hardwired for connection. We created a mask to adapt, and it was the only way that we felt safe to maintain these relationships, right? It's part of our fight flight system. It's the fawn response, which is essentially when your nervous system is going to choose appeasement over perceived danger. So, in short, we created this because at some point it kept us safe. It's not a weakness, it's just how we adapted. And now the problem is we are aware of this. We know that we're doing it. We know that it stems from a safety mechanism. And it is now running our adult life. It's running our business decisions. It's running our friendships, our relationships, because we don't want to risk that safety. So we need to realize that we are safe right now and we can choose differently because people pleasing is going to come at a cost. If people pleasing is self abandonment, you are putting yourself on the back burner at the cost of what we feel like we need to feel safe, which is doing things to get validation and approval from other people. And so it's going to create this internal battle because every time you say yes, when you mean no, you're basically going against yourself. Even though deep down you want to be honest, you want to show up how you really are, you just don't do it because it just feels so unsafe and it feels easier to betray yourself than to be real. So, what I've seen people pleasing lead to is this loss of self identity, right? So, that's the root of the problem is that we do not know who we are at our core and we don't love all components of ourselves, all of our qualities, all of our strengths, all of our weaknesses. We don't see that we are perfectly crafted to be the Stephanie that I am unique, one of one, and that I'm the best at being me, and that all qualities about me are perfect. It's that my perception is off, and the label that I have created, the context in which I created it, was when I was younger so that I could feel safe. Right. So if you have multiple siblings in your family, I'm sure you guys all have a different role that you play within the family. And that was what you created to feel safe. Okay. So loss of self-identity is one cause that people pleasing can lead to. Another one is a big one. I work a lot with high performers. I work a lot with businesses and founders and CEOs, and it leads a lot to resentment and it leads a lot to burnout. So when you're constantly giving without receiving or without filling up your own cup, you're going to drain your energy. And then you're also going to have this frustration or this resentment that you hold towards others, right? How many times have you resented a person for not seeing your worth or value, but the behaviors and actions that you did went against that, right? Resentment is drinking poison and hoping the other person dies when you have the poison in your hand and you don't have to drink it. And so you can choose to be different. The reason why we don't choose to be different is because it feels really uncomfortable in our body, right? So just know that you have the ability to change. It is available to you. The problem is that it feels really unsafe in our bodies because of these mechanisms and this proof that we have from our entire life that is going to make us feel like it is really uncomfortable and it is not safe. But you need to realize your brain, your body, your ego all wants to keep you in the familiar because the familiar feels safer than doing something different. Okay. But doing something different is actually where we see the most change in our life. When we choose ourselves, other people start choosing us, right? When we start to see who we are, we stop looking for other people to tell us who we are. So when someone says something to you, it doesn't take you out because you're believing them. Or now you're adapting and changing and putting on all these masks to try to be the person at work or in your relationship that does or doesn't do the thing the other person said. The next thing that it leads to is shallow connections. And so you may feel that your relationships lack depth because they were built on appeasement and not authenticity, right? So you're not being your true self. You're not showing your true nature because if I actually bring up what I'm actually feeling, they may get rid of me, right? So you end up having these connections that aren't actually built on a stable foundation of unconditional love and unconditional acceptance. Unconditional love is just seeing the good and bad. Excuse me. Seeing the good and bad. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. It is seeing the good and bad in everything and loving it anyways, right? We can feel this with our family where we have unconditional love. We may know all of the horrible things that they've done and we still love them anyway. We don't have a condition on the love. And we need to have that unconditional love and unconditional acceptance for ourselves. That way, when we're rooted to it and we know it, other people are going to feel that acceptance as well and give that back to us. But the relationships that we're building when we're people pleasing are not going to feel real and like they lack depth. And that you guys love each other no matter what, like a relationship may have or someone in your family may have. And then the last one is just low self-worth, because your value, the way you view yourself, becomes tied to this external approval instead of where it should come from, which is internal validation. And so basically, what this conditional acceptance means is that I'll be liked as long as I make other people happy, or I'll be loved as long as I don't rock the boat, or I'll belong as long as I hide the parts of me that other people might not approve of. And it's really fragile because it never has real safety. And this is actually what we're longing for and what we're looking to create. But everything starts with you. So I want to just go back to life as a mirror that is going to mirror how you are being towards yourself back to you through situations, circumstances, people, and events. So, if you are putting yourself last, that is going to put you in situations or relationships with people where you feel that they are putting you last, because nobody can actually make you feel a certain way that you don't already feel. What they're doing is they're bubbling it up to the surface. It already exists. They're just bringing it up to the surface. So what you need to see when you have a feeling in a situation or an emotion or a trigger comes up, the feeling is just your interpretation. Your subconscious mind, your subconscious beliefs are telling you actually what the issue is. But we have to realize it's not a blame, it's not a them, it's turning the finger inwards. Oh, wow, this situation is showing me something, a behavior, an action, a thing that we're doing, a belief about myself. And I now have the power to change it, right? So everybody that's here that's joining this around people pleasing wants to not people please anymore. They want to be rooted to themselves. They want to create relationships and behaviors that are rooted in truth, in authenticity, in seeing their true self. But we have to first realize that it starts with us. Everything we give ourselves, we will get back from others through reflections, through experiences. And then the second piece is this is literally created through a coping mechanism. So it's not our identity. We want to separate ourselves from it. It's just a coping mechanism. It's something we created up until now that gave us a sense of safety. And so now we have to actually change it going forward. Okay. So first thing is knowing that it is available for you to change. It is not your identity. You are safe. And now that you are safe, you no longer need to have this old pattern that was protecting you, because you know that you are the main character of your life, the center of your world, and everyone is just supporting actors in your life and in your story. So you can become different. You can rewire this response. You can step out of survival mode, which is just feeling safety in your body. And the way that you do that, though, is you have to go through uncomfortable situations. If anybody on here creates content, if you've ever filmed yourself for the first time, it feels so weird. It feels like wrong. It feels so uncomfortable. Every part of your body like doesn't want to do this. But as you keep doing it, you start realizing, okay, this actually feels okay to do. I'm getting better at this. I'm continuing to try again and iterate. Life is an experiment. We need to keep doing different things so that we can get different results. If you keep people pleasing, you will keep getting the same results in your life. You're going to keep overworking and getting burned out. You are going to resent the people in your life, your jobs. You are going to have mental instability in feeling like you are trying to please everyone and you are putting yourself on the back burner. You have a low self priority, right? You don't fill your cup up before you fill others. So you're literally just trying to give people with an empty cup. And that's also why they're not actually feeling what you're giving them. You're overworking and they're still not seeing your value because you literally just poured nothing in their cup because your cup was empty. You have to fill it first and then you can fill theirs. Whatever you gave yourself, they will feel. So if you give yourself this much water by knowing your value, by prioritizing your needs, by understanding yourself, when you actually go into a situation, they can feel this much. But if there's nothing in the cup, they won't be able to feel it because everyone is just feeling your energy. Your energy is based on your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, and your emotions that live in this energetic field, your electromagnetic field around you. So whatever you believe to be true, the identity you hold about yourself, others are going to feel from you. Okay. It's not about being the hardest worker, right? It's about the belief in what you offer that you are going to give to the table. Because when you believe what your value is and what you know, that is going to change the type of actions that you take. You are going to be looked at as an authority. You are going to have hard conversations, right? Hard conversations lead to breakthroughs. Doing hard things lead to breakthroughs, right? Going 10 steps backwards and realizing you need to make a change is going to propel you forward. If not, you're going to keep feeling like you're stuck. You're doing the same thing and it's not working. It's not working. We have to make change, okay? So I want to go through a few things that you can do. Before I get to that, any questions so far, thoughts, anything that's come up? All right, so let's jump in. So the first step that we want to do is we want to thank our people pleasing. Okay, we want to accept our people pleasing. Okay, before we change anything, we have to acknowledge it. Okay. We have to realize that people pleasing isn't bad. It's just what kept you safe. Okay. So we want to thank it and love it for being there. It got us here. The safety mechanism worked for us to get us here. I don't know if you've ever heard anyone say, but you have to love it first to change it, right? You can't hate your way into a good body, right? You have to love your way into it, okay? So you have to first see how this people pleasing and safety mechanism actually worked for you, okay? So you want to make a list. How did my people pleasing work for me? Okay, so it made you a hard worker, right? You work really hard at your job now. And so you did that maybe out of um, a coping mechanism to try to feel something, but it did make you a hard worker. So we want to value that. It made you empathetic. It taught you how to read people and navigate situations. There's something good that came from your people pleasing tendencies. So we want to just see how it worked for us. Okay. What was the benefit of it that got us here? Okay. What happens though? People get stuck in, well, why would I change being a people pleaser? Because it got me all these things for anyone who it's worked for, right? We can still create new and be better, but we don't have to abandon ourselves in the process. So just know that we're going to think it, we're going to love it, but we're going to change it. Okay. We want to start identifying with the new quality. So whatever it did that worked for you, I want you to start identifying with that quality, not people pleasing. Okay. So we're going to get rid of people pleasing. It is just a term that is a blanket term that keeps us stuck. So people pleasing means what? I'm hardworking, I'm empathetic, I'm intuitive. What are some of the beneficial qualities that came from it? I want you to now write those down and start identifying with those. Those are how this helped you. That is what makes you a beautiful human being, special and unique. We don't want to lose that. We want to still stay empathetic, but again, we don't want to abandon ourselves in the process of getting there. Okay. The second part is you want to actually see where it is holding you back. Okay. So now we want to flip it. Where has people pleasing worked against me? So this is where you're abandoning yourself. So this is where you can choose to create something new. You can make a list of all of the things that you're abandoning and you can work through them one by one on how you could actually change that in your reality. You need to know this is going to feel uncomfortable because your body is going to try to keep pulling you back into the familiar to make you feel safe because anything that's uncertain or feels uncomfortable feels unsafe. And so we're going to want to keep reverting back to the old identity and the old beliefs and the old actions. So we want to just first list it out. Where has this been holding me back? Where has it worked against me? Where have I abandoned myself in the process? Right. So maybe it is that you feel you don't have deep connections. Well, you can change that tomorrow, right? You can start being more yourself. You can learn to have deeper conversations with other people. You can start showing up more yourself, right? You can start saying no to things when you mean yes. You can start suggesting things. You can start to change the behavior, change the identity of who you are, right? We don't need to be the good girl that just does what everyone else says and never speaks up their mind because you're hurting yourself in the process. You're basically telling people that what I say doesn't matter. And then you feel what you say doesn't matter. Then that impacts how you actually show up into the world. And that also is going to manifest as health issues in the body. right? Your words are energy. They're getting stuck in your throat. They're holding back. You're closing off your heart, right? You are putting yourself last. So we want to actually understand where we're holding back because of the safety components in our body, and it makes us feel safer to act in this certain way. So basically, you want to see both sides. You want to see the gifts and you want to see the costs. And then you want to gain clarity on what you want to keep and then what you want to actually change. And you're going to have a blueprint of start rooting to all the things. So people now are going to start realizing like, oh, he's a hard worker. She's a hard worker because you're rooting to that. You're seeing that that's a gift, but you are not going to burn yourself out in the process. If you need to go outside and take a walk, you're going to do that when you need to shut your laptop and do something for you or read a book or rest because you're realizing that doing things for you is actually getting you what you want. Okay. It is getting you the safety, the clarity, the identity within who you are. Okay. The third thing that we want to do is we want to address what the root of the problem is, which is the fear and the desire, what we talked about before, right? The fear is we're creating, we've become a people pleaser because we fear things like abandonment or judgment from other people. So we hide who we truly are because this version of us is going to actually get us the thing we desire, which is acceptance, which is love, which is belongingness, which is connection. So the two of them are kind of working hand in hand because we've created proof of if I do this behavior, people will love and accept me, right? So I'm going to do this behavior, I'm going to get this result. If the fear is if I do something different, I will lose this, okay? That isn't truth. That is just because we have proof of it. It feels real in our body, right? Our body is storing memory. Our body is storing the past, and our brain uses the past to predict the future. So the only way to outdo all of these mechanisms of our brain and our body is to consciously create new. We have to first become aware of it. Most people stop at awareness. We cannot stop at awareness. Awareness is just a label of the bad behavior, and then you keep doing the bad behavior, and then you know you're doing it, and you keep labeling it. You're like, well, this is my attachment style. This is just who I am, right? You've accepted that about yourself, and you are not changing it, right? We want to love and accept that that's us. It got us this far, but now I'm going to do something different. Okay. The second part is the actual change. It's the change of the belief, the disproving of the belief, the changing of the identity of who you see yourself as. And it is the change of the action. We have to actually take action. We have to do something new, right? If you want to become a multimillionaire by starting your own business, you have to have the belief that it's possible for you, the identity of you as an entrepreneur that can figure it out. But you also have to take the action. You got to build the business, right? You got to put yourself out there. You got to start a name. You got to create an LLC. You got to build a website. You got to start marketing yourself. You need both. Okay. But the problem is most people have one or the other. They have this and then they're not taking the action, or they're just taking the action without the belief because they're trying to get validation from other people through this. Okay. This is where hustle culture comes from. I'm trying to work just so hard so someone will notice me, so I can prove my worth, so I can tell my mom, look at me, what I did, or the person, right? The Lady Gagas of the world that just want to prove to everyone that they can make it. And they're still unhappy and unstable because they're doing it from lack. They are not doing it from a strong, stable foundation. Okay. We need to change who we are at our core on how we see ourselves. And then other people will just mirror back to us how we already see ourselves. So you'll have an example of this in your reality right now. You believe this about yourself and people are for sure mirroring it to you for you, right? You believe this about yourself and your actions show you that back to you, right? We have to change it. Okay. So first, what you want to do with the fear and the desire is you want to ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario if I stop people pleasing and actually show up as my true self? What is that? What is the worst thing that is going to happen to you? We think if we don't address the fear, it's not going to happen. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you. It's already happening in your life because we don't create from our conscious mind. We create from our subconscious mind, from the beliefs that we hold and the identity that we have for ourselves. So the fear lives there. You not looking at it doesn't make it go away, right? You're still attracting that in. You actually, the fear loses its power when you actually address it. When you tackle it head on, you face it, right? So that you can plan and prepare for that situation. You can also uncover what is it that I'm actually going to lose here if I do this. Okay. So maybe the worst case scenario is someone's going to not be my friend anymore, right? They're going to disappoint me. They're going to think that I'm someone who creates conflict, and then they're going to judge me and see me as bad. What's the worst case scenario? You lose everyone, you're all alone. Let's just go even further than that, right? You're going to have nobody. Okay. Now flip it. What is the best case scenario of this happening, of you choosing yourself, of you stop doing things for other people to try to get validation outside of you? Like, what is the best case scenario that's going to happen? Okay. Number one, this thought came up earlier. I wanted to bring this up, but feelings are what we're trying to get when we do things, right? We think that if I become successful, then I will finally be validated, right? Validation is just like a feeling. You could feel validated right now. It's subjective. Someone can feel validation from literally just like posting one Substack, and someone could never feel validation and they've posted 3 best-selling books, right? It's an internal thing that you're cultivating, right? We want money because that is now going to make us feel like we are free and that we have stability in our life and that we finally made it and that everything we do is finally working out, right? These are things that we can start to feel now that we can start to prove in our reality. So you always have control over your feelings. When you don't have control is when you are putting it out externally to try to get it from other people. That is literally what people pleasing is rooted in. You trying to get someone to feel a certain way about you through this behavior and through this action. But you need to create from a stable foundation. You need to feel the feeling first. When you feel it, whatever you feel and focus on, you get more of in your reality. So if you are feeling like you have stability in your life through little micro moments of things that you have stability through, you will get more stability in your life. You will get more situations, circumstances that prove that back to you. Right now, you're getting the opposite because you're trying to find it outside of you. Oh, if I get the promotion at work, then that means that I'm good. And then what happens 2 weeks later? You're in the same patterns, the same thought process. It's like it just completely went away. It becomes your new baseline, this new success level. Yet you're feeling the same way. The success actually didn't change you. It's up to you to change you. Okay. So, best case scenario. What is the best case scenario of you doing this? Maybe you gain respect. Maybe you build deeper, authentic relationships. Maybe you just stop betraying yourself and you feel like you have the most loyal friend in the whole world yourself, right? But the truth is, in both scenarios, the biggest win is that you're choosing yourself and being true to you. If the best case scenario happens or the worst case scenario happens, it doesn't matter because you are choosing yourself. How do you get anyone else to choose you? You have to choose you, and then other people will choose you, right? When you see your value, other people see your value. It is all a belief system, an identity that we create that get other people to see it. So best case scenario, you choose yourself. You stop putting yourself last. Okay, that's going to have massive shift in your life, but we don't want to fear the worst case scenario because when we fear the worst case scenario, we're going to make decisions that don't actually align with our true self. Okay, we need to be okay with the worst case scenario. Okay, if you lose all your friends, well, you can make new friends now from your new authentic place, right? If you're willing to put yourself out there and go and have the belief, you will create that. How can we address the thoughts and emotions, not just the feelings that are perpetuating the cycle? So, when a thought comes up in a situation, right? The reason why it feels like a spiral is because we attach a meaning to the thought. So if we get into, let's just say we stop people pleasing and we say what's on our mind. The thought that pops up is, why did I do that? I'm such an idiot. Now this person is never going to work with me. Okay. That's the thought that pops into your head. You can choose to accept it, which means you're going to agree that that's true. And this is something you have to learn to catch. It becomes something that you have to learn how to do. Catch your thoughts. Create like a note in your phone that's like catching crazy thoughts that you think. Because instead, what happens is it's going to gain steam because we have evidence from the past that prove that true. When I spoke my mind, I lost this friend. This bad thing happened. This bad thing happened. This bad thing happened. But you also have evidence that when you spoke your mind, good things happened, right? So you need to write down and find evidence every day of when I speak my mind, good things happen, right? What we focus on, we get more of. So it is always a belief underneath, something underneath that is holding us back. And the thought is going to then trigger that belief. And the belief has all of this evidence and proof that we believe that it's true. Okay. So that's the thought piece of it. We don't want to let the thought gain steam because it will just start spiraling because of all the proof that we have and the memories that we have of that. Emotions are separate. So emotions is data. That's all that it is. It's just a natural thing that happens. Okay. It's a clue. It's insight. It is just neutral. Okay. Being angry is not good or bad. It's just an emotion. Okay. You can let yourself feel the anger, not by yelling at the person, but go let yourself feel the anger. Stop yourself before you react and go step away. Okay. Go scream in your car, go for a run, punch a pillow. Let yourself be angry. Write an anger letter that you're going to rip up and burn to like get that feeling out. Okay. It's just neutral the emotion. We don't want to hate parts of ourselves, right? We don't want to look at part of our identity and think like, I am bad. This is the worst thing ever. Okay. We want to actually just see that an emotion is neutral. It's just our body reacting. It's showing us something. Okay. The emotion's neutral. The feeling, though, where you said not just the feeling is important because the feeling is showing you your subconscious mind and a limiting belief that is holding you back. Okay. We're people pleasing because we have a limiting belief that we think that if we don't say what we say, people will love us, right? That's not true. That is just what you have proof of. So you believe it's true, but it's not actually true. So the feeling is the key. Okay, so the emotion that you felt, feel it. Let yourself feel it. Don't shove it down. Emotion is energy, emotion, it gets stuck in the body. Okay, we want to actually feel what we need to feel. And if you are in a place where you can't feel it in the moment, write it down and then go let yourself feel that anger later. Okay, but acknowledge that it's there. I see you. I love you. I don't need to change you. Okay, my body's just showing me the anger. Okay, when you address it, you can change it. If you pretend it's not there and you shove it down, you're going to keep being angry in situations. You got to let the anger out. There's usually a deeper root too, as like where the anger is stemming from. These are old like limiting beliefs that you have to realize is there and you have to start disproving it. Okay. Over and over and over and over again until that becomes the new neural pathway. So just a quick side note is that we have beliefs. The beliefs were created from when we were younger, like we talked about, right? This is how we get love, safety, acceptance. If I act, be, do this way, identity and belief, then I get X results. Okay. So we just keep doing that. Now, that's not true. It's just a safety mechanism that we created, right? So we want to create a new belief. Now that we know it's there and we're like, that makes no fucking sense. I am not going to identify with that belief any longer. We need to create a new neural pathway. The act of creating the new neural pathway is actually where the work is. Okay. It's going to feel annoying. It's going to feel like tedious, but you have to consciously create something new. If not, your brain and your body are going to take over in autopilot, which is proving that old belief true. Okay. Your reality is just showing you your beliefs back to you. We have a part in our brain that's going to filter through our reality and it's going to show us back what we believe to be true. We have to change the belief and we have to focus on the new belief so we can get more of that and start noticing it in our reality. So you have to create a note in your phone, write it out. Every day you need to clock all the moments that prove that new belief true. You're doing it until that becomes the non-declarative belief, the belief that has more evidence than the old one. Okay, we're suffocating the old one. We're getting rid of it. The only way to do it is to create a new one. It's going to keep trying to pull you back. Okay, that's the work. It's going to keep trying to pull you back. You just have to keep grabbing the reins. And I promise you, there will be a point where you're like, holy fucking shit, this is hit. This is solidified. This is automatic now. This is my new automatic way of being. This is why the only way to get the things you want in life is to master yourself. Okay, is to master the identity, the beliefs, the stories that you're telling yourself that are not fucking true, that kept you safe. We love them, but we no longer need them. We're gonna do something new. Hopefully that helped. Okay. All right. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about reprogramming your identity. So we went through the first 3 steps. These are things that you guys can start doing. So I will send this out in a email with the 3 steps, but hopefully you guys took some notes and you can rewatch this. The fourth part is the reprogramming of your identity. And this is what we just talked about. It is so important because we're not just trying to stop people pleasing. We're going to teach our brain and body that it is safe to be ourselves and that we can love who we are at our core when we are authentic, that we get more love and belonging and connection and safety when we're actually ourselves, not this pretend person that we've been our whole life because that's what gave us love and acceptance. Okay, so the identity is just a story that you tell yourself about who you are. Okay, I was the one in my family who was the strong one that didn't need any help, that I did it all on my own. And great, that got me to move out, go be the first person in my family to go to college. It was the one that got me to move to New York City, hustle, work hard, start creating the life that I want. Okay. It never fixed anything though, right? I still had this massive hole in my body and I had all this success and all these things that I've dreamed of. And I felt just as empty because you cannot get a feeling from external things. We can only fill a void internally. We can only give it to ourselves and then the world will mirror it back to us. Okay. But we love that part of me, that we love the mask that I created because it got me where I am right now. And I can love that version of me, but I don't need to be her anymore. I know that when I ask for help, I get tenfold, right? I know that I'm not doing it all alone and that I have no love and no support unless I'm the good one that has it together and can only figure it out and can never have anyone help me. Okay. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to be that old identity. Want to love her. She got me here, but we're going to change that. I'm no longer her anymore. I reframe what we talked about, right? With how those attributes of that actually are working for me. Like what were those things that worked for me? Let's pull out all the good from that. And then we want to actually root to those qualities because those are strengths. And we want to change things that we don't love, right? So I would react to things because I had no control over my emotions. And I didn't love that I did that. I would beat myself up about it. Okay. First, we don't want to beat ourselves up about it, but we want to be aware that I created an action. I reacted in a way that I don't love. Well, I needed to learn how to master communication. I needed to learn how to master my emotions so they stop controlling my life. I needed to gain skills so that I can also become the person I want to. This isn't just some magic thing that you're just going to become. We have to create this version through reprogramming the beliefs, reprogramming the story we tell ourselves about who we are, and then new actions. We have to create and take the new action. That is something that the spiritual world misses a lot. And then the hustle side misses the identity and the beliefs. So we need a little bit of both. It's a mix and mixture where they both come together in this beautiful space in the middle that really is you being strong in a foundation of self. Okay. So the reprogramming is an entirely new program that we're going to do. We can't cover all of that today. I gave you 3 incredible steps of things that you can implement today that can get you started. But the second part of this, which is actually the reprogramming of the identity, I'm going to host a masterclass and a live workshop. So it's going to be a 2-hour workshop that we're going to go through that's going to give you tools like we did today. That's going to be a step by step on how you actually start to reprogram your identity. Okay. It requires commitment. It requires you to question your thoughts. It requires you to question the old stories. It requires you to craft out who you want to be, and then you have to become it. Okay. You're going to be working against everything trying to pull you back into the old. And you have to be the strong foundation that creates resilience within yourself and doing it anyway, right? We created people pleasing because we're afraid of abandonment. We're afraid of judgment. We're afraid of all of these things. We have to do it anyway. Okay. We have to go through the fear. We have to know that we are choosing ourselves. And it requires you dismantling this old identity that you're still grasping on, these old beliefs that are controlling your life. So I'm going to do a 2-hour workshop. We'll send an email with all of the details on this. If you attended the live today, I'm going to give you a 15% off discount code for that. So it's going to be identity 15. I'll send it in the email if you joined. I have all of your emails and everyone here who was on. And we're going to go through an entire workshop that is hands on, that will allow you to actually create the life that you want by creating a new identity, right? Finding that true self, that authentic version of you that has been there this entire time and has been waiting for you to take control of your life and actually learn to reprogram it. Okay. So that's going to be September 17th. I will send out more details. I'm going to pause now. We went through a lot, 51 minutes of content. If there's any questions, put them in and I will answer those before we go. So I'll give a minute for everyone to just put in some questions or just tell me what you loved, if there was an aha moment that you had. Do we feel better about why we people please in the first place and knowing that it's not our identity and that we can change it and that it was just a safety mechanism? I'm sure you guys are typing frantically. Yes. Love that, Jen. Practical info on the importance of finding the good in the qualities. Yes. We want to change. We have control to change everything. A label is just a fake story that we created because we can find good in everything, right? This is a good one where I used to not like people who are particular. Okay. So when we judge other things, that's also showing us where we deny a part of ourselves. And so that's because I couldn't see where I was particular in things, right? We're all particular in certain things. They can even be little micro moments of how we like to eat our food, right? Do you like to mix it all together? Do you like to eat one thing at a time? We all have a version of all of these labels within us. It's that we've created a meaning about what it means about us, and we have to change the story, change the label. You have control over that. It's your fucking life. You can do whatever you want. It's your life, your identity, your stories to tell about who you are in the context of what it is. We created a meaning based on the context of what created that behavior in the first place, right? You spoke up and your mom did not like that, so now you've labeled speaking up as bad. It's not bad. It's actually really good, right? So you want to see why not speaking up, what good qualities came from that, and then speaking up, what good qualities come from that so that you can step into the person that is that more. All right, let's see this one. Been through this process over the past 6 years, and I can honestly say it's been transformational. I'm a recovering alcoholic, call myself a recovering people pleaser. Yes, exactly. We don't people please anymore. We choose ourselves. Okay. If we want other people to choose us, we have to choose us. We are waiting for other people to tell us who we are. We're waiting for people to love and accept us. But we need to do that first. It all starts with us. We are the only constant in our life. We are the common denominator. It all revolves around us. Our life revolves around us. Okay. So we get to choose the rules. We get to choose the story, the identity, everything. Oh, hi, Caitlin. Will this video be live? Yes, it will be live. It'll be available to rewatch. I'll send an email out with it. So you'll get it if you joined late. All right. Anything else? I'll give one more minute for anyone to type anything else back in. But this has been wonderful. Thank you guys so much for spending the time with me today, for listening, for commenting, sharing your stories. I appreciate you all so much. And anyone who's here, I just want to say I'm so proud of you because you doing this work is the greatest investment in your entire life. And even if it feels like it's not working yet, I promise you that it will. You are just reinforcing something that's been there for so long. You're creating something new. And the way through is also taking action. So do not forget to actually take the action. Okay. The action helps you build the belief. The action helps you create more resilience in your life. Okay. Can't be afraid of failure. Can't be afraid of abandonment. We can't be afraid of these things. Fear is limiting us. Fear is holding us back. Fear is actually putting us in fight or flight and turning off the logical part of our mind, which actually makes us make pretty bad decisions. We want to get out of fear. We want to face fear head on. And I'll leave you just with this anecdote because I always find that it's super interesting to think about, right? Fear is just showing us that we have not planned for the thing that's controlling us. So if you think about driving a car, right? We all know that bad things can happen when you drive a car. You can get into a car accident, you can die. It is a higher probability than flying. And more people are afraid of flying than they are driving. And why is that, right? Because you are in control of driving. You can actually take and plan for the measures, right? You can put your seatbelt on. You cannot drink and drive. You cannot text and drive. You can drive slowly, not be in a rush, prepare for where you're going. There's so many factors that you can plan for to make it a better chance of the worst case not happening. You don't want to let fear dictate your decisions and run your life. Usually it is just showing you that you're missing details and you are missing preparation for that thing. So when you have fear, you want to uncover it. What is the actual fear that I think is going to happen? Be okay with the worst case scenario and plan accordingly. Okay? All right. I love you. Everyone have a great rest of your day and DM me or message me if you have any questions. Okay. Bye.